There's a specific kind of silence that hits when you're 30. It's not the silence of peace. It's the silence of realization. You're sitting there, maybe looking at a bank statement or just staring at the wall after a long shift, and the math finally starts to settle in your head. You're not the young kid at the office anymore. You've seen a decade of adulthood go by, and while you've survived, maybe even thrived in some ways, there's this lingering shadow in the corner of the room. It's the version of you 35 years from now. They're older, a bit more tired, and they're relying entirely on the choices you're making right now, in this kitchen, with this coffee. It's easy to feel like you've already missed the boat. You hear stories about people who started investing at 18 with money they didn't have, and you feel this quiet, heavy pressure that you're behind. But I want to tell you something right now, before we even look at a single number. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today. Being 30 isn't a late start. It's actually the perfect time to begin, because for the first time in your life, you actually understand the value of time. Let's talk about how we get you to that finish line, not with stress, but with a plan that actually lets you breathe. We've been sold a bit of a lie about retirement. We're told it's this grand, distant finish line where you suddenly stop being productive and start playing golf. Because of that, we treat it like a mountain that's too high to climb, so we just don't look at it. We tell ourselves, I'll start when I make more money, or I'll focus on it once the car is paid off. But the real problem isn't your income, and it's definitely not your lack of willpower. The problem is that our brains aren't evolved to care about a version of ourselves that doesn't exist yet. To your brain, 65-year-old you is a stranger. Why would you give your hard-earned money to a stranger when you have bills and stress and a need for a little bit of joy today? We also live in a culture that treats financial struggle as a moral failing. If you don't have a massive portfolio at 30, you're told you've been irresponsible. But let's be real. The last decade hasn't exactly been a smooth ride. You've navigated a world that is more expensive and more volatile than the one our parents lived in. If you're feeling behind, it's not because you're bad with money. It's because the system is designed to make you focus on the now while ignoring the later. If you're feeling behind, it's not because you're bad with money. It's because the system is designed to make you focus on the now while ignoring the later. You're not saving. You're literally purchasing days of your future life where you don't have to answer to anyone. When you look at it that way, starting at 30 isn't a burden. It's an opportunity to finally start owning yourself. Let's look at the mechanics of this, but without the spreadsheets that make your eyes glaze over. At 30, you have a superpower that a 50-year-old would give everything they own to have. It's called time. Specifically, you have about 30 to 35 years of it. In the world of finance, time is a multiplier. It's the difference between a snowball and an avalanche. You've probably heard of compound interest. People talk about it like it's magic, but it's really just the reward for patience. When you invest $1 today, that dollar goes to work. It earns a little bit of interest. Then, next year, that original dollar and the interest it earned both go to work. By the time you're in your 50s, you have an entire army of dollars working for you, and they don't get tired. They don't take sick days, and they don't need coffee. Think about your life right now. Think about the stress of a rent increase or the anxiety of a car repair. Now, imagine a version of your life where those things are just minor inconveniences because you have a foundation underneath you. Saving for retirement at 30 isn't about being rich. It's about being unshakable. And the math is actually more forgiving than you think. You don't need to find $1,000 a month. You need to find a starting point. If you can automate a small percentage of your income, even if it's just 5%, you've already done the hardest part. You've broken the inertia. Most people think they need a win to get ahead, a promotion, a lottery ticket, a lucky stock. But wealth at 60 isn't built on wins. It's built on habits that become invisible. It's the money that leaves your paycheck before you even see it. It's the realization that future you deserves to be taken care of just as much as current you deserves that new pair of shoes. There is a moment for everyone who becomes financially secure where the click happens. It's usually not when they hit a certain number in the bank. It's the moment they realize that money is just a tool for time. When you're 20, you trade your time to get money. You work the extra hours, you take the stress, you hustle. But when you hit 30, you have the chance to start the reverse process, using your money to buy back your time. Every $100 you put into a retirement account today is a week of your life at 65 that you've already paid for. You're literally buying your own release papers, 1 month at a time. This realization changes how you feel when you look at your budget. It's no longer about restriction. It's not about what you can't have today. It's about what you are giving to yourself tomorrow. It's an act of self-love. When you start at 30, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to live on ramen and never see your friends. You just have to be intentional. You have to decide that you are worth the investment. I want you to take a deep breath and realize that you aren't behind. You are exactly where you need to be to make a choice that will change the rest of your life. The weight you feel isn't failure, it's just the gravity of the responsibility you finally decided to pick up. And once you start moving, that weight gets lighter. Momentum is a powerful thing. So, how do we actually do this? Not in a hustle culture way, but in a real-life way. First, we stop looking for the perfect time. There is no month where you'll suddenly have extra money. Life will always fill the space you give it. Instead, we start with what's possible right now. If your employer offers a match on a retirement plan, that is your starting line. That is literally a raise you haven't claimed yet. If they don't, or if you're working for yourself, you open an account, any account, and you set up an automatic transfer, even if it's $50, especially if it's $50. Why 50? Because it proves to your brain that you are a person who saves. It changes your identity from someone who struggles to someone who builds. Once that identity shifts, increasing that amount later feels natural, not painful. Second, we look at the big three costs: housing, transportation, and food. You don't need to cut out your morning coffee if that's the one thing that makes your commute bearable. But maybe you decide to keep your current car for 3 more years instead of upgrading. That single decision could be worth 6 figures in 30 years. Third, we give ourselves permission to grow. Your income at 30 is likely not your peak income. As you move through your 30s and 40s, you'll likely earn more. The secret isn't to live like a monk. It's to make sure that as your income goes up, your savings go up a little bit faster than your lifestyle does. This isn't about deprivation. It's about balance. It's about making sure that the joy you're having today isn't being borrowed from the peace of mind you'll need tomorrow. And finally, forgive yourself for the years you didn't save. Those years are gone, and carrying the guilt of them is just extra weight you don't need for the climb ahead. You're here now. That's what matters. If you're watching this and you're 30 or 32 or even 39 and your retirement account is at 0, I want you to look at your hands for a second. These hands have worked. They've navigated a decade of adulthood. They've held on through some probably pretty difficult times. They are capable of building something. You aren't a series of mistakes. You aren't a late bloomer. You are a human being who is waking up to their own potential. The path to a secure retirement isn't paved with complex stock picks or 80-hour work weeks. It's paved with the quiet, consistent decision to prioritize your future self. It's about the peace that comes from knowing that no matter what happens in the world, you're looking out for you. Tonight, when you go to bed, try to imagine that version of you at 65. They're standing in a kitchen much like yours, maybe with a better view, definitely with more stories. Imagine them looking back at you right now and saying, "Thank you. Thank you for starting. Thank you for believing we were worth it. You have time. You have the ability. And most importantly, you have the awareness." Take one small step today. Open the tab, check the balance, set the transfer. Progress doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. It just has to be a step forward. And once you take that step, take a deep breath. You're doing just fine.